Going to tie something a bit different today. It's not for salt water. It's a lock fly pattern. This one is a variation of a Solwick that I find particularly good at the back end. Useful when the fish are in the deeps feeding on Daphnia. So, just to explain, I suppose maybe the evolution of the pattern. The Solwick is a fly that's a combination of a wingless Wickham's and picked up the wrong one there, a soldier palmer. Soldier palmer there. And there's a version of a soldier palmer, a variant that I've used for quite some time, which I call the red soldier, which is basically a soldier palmer with a dyed red hackle on the front. And that's a good fly in its own right as well. So the Solwick would be a combination of a soldier palmer and a wingless Wickham. So something along the lines of this. This one has a red wool tail, but the idea basically is that you'd have the rear half of a wingless Wickham's and the front half of the red soldier palmer, and you could tie the Solwick with the dyed red hackle on the front as well. So all those will catch fish on the loughs, but at Daphnia time, legs and UV tails, they really add an extra bit to the fly. So that's why I'm going to tie this pattern, because I'll be getting ready for trips to Lough Corrib and Lough Mask in around August. So the hook I'm going to use is a size 10 fulling mill heavy wet, and the thread that's in here is a UTC. This one is 70 in black, so just add a tiny bit of wax to the thread there just to get started. And I'm just going to leave a bit of space at the front there. The scissors, trim that off, and it's going to catch in my rib on the way down. I might go back a small bit there. So the rib for this is oval gold, or uni French sometimes called, and it's medium. So cut off a piece of that. Oh, there's actually a piece over here that should be long enough, and I'm just going to tie that in, keep it on the side. The wax thread was sticky, stuck to my finger. Just keep that along the side here. I'll kind of pull it down at an angle. It's just the way I tie it, I suppose. And the tail is Tommy Fly UV number 14, which is available from Piscari Fly. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to wrap that around my fingers, maybe 8 times, 8 to 10 times anyway, depends how thick you want your tail. I'm going to remove it from where I wrapped it around my fingers, and I'm just going to trim it off the spoon. Don't worry if it doesn't look especially neat, you're going to be trimming it anyway, but basically that's the effect you're looking for. I'm going to kind of catch that in. I'm going to leave it a little bit longer than the tail's going to be. A couple of tight turns just to secure it, and then we can come up in open turns and then bring it back, tie it down, slightly open turns on the top. Okay, so still doesn't look the business just yet. Let's put that out of the way and measure the length of my tail. Again, it's kind of a personal preference. I like them a little bit long, so I like them half the length of the hook shank probably anyway. Then for the rear half of the body, I'm going to use a holographic gold lurex. This is a wide one. If I was using a medium, I would tie it in halfway up and go down towards the tail and back up. But this one is pretty wide, so it's going to come from here. So touch and turns, he says. Then he left it slip out of his hand. We're still doing touch and turns anyway. We want to get, as I say, around halfway up that body. Give it one more. I'm just going to bring my thread in underneath, catch it in. Couple of turns, one or two in front, just lock it in place. I'm going to trim it off. And just going to come forward a bit, come back now. If you think you've had too much gold, you can come back a little bit onto it. Okay. I'm going to locate my wax. I'm going to wax my thread again. And I'm going to dub on some red seals for salt. Now this particular red seals for salt I think is UV. You'll know if you shine your UV torch on it. I don't have mine to hand now, but there are some fluorescent ones, and again at Daphnia time fluorescent or UV reactive materials tend to be better fish catchers, so always worth having some of them. So I'm just making this a little bit tight start off, just to get the first turn or two, and then we can loosen it off a bit. And we're just doubling it up there. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to form a little base now here and come back down. Now, need a hackle, so I'm going to use, you could use red game, I'm going to use a brown. This is a whiting cape, and it's the colour is light brown. I'm just going to select the hackle from that. So seem to be nice quality, nice shine on them, on those. Remove a bit of that. Fluff from the end, catch it in. Two or three turns, and then a couple of turns in front. Secures. So that's secure now. And I'm just going to hammer this down. I don't really need a hackle pliers because this is long enough that it's easy enough to use my fingers. So open turns, work your way down towards your tail, get your rib, catch it in, and then start working your rib up through the body of the fly. Take your time, try not to trap too many fibres. You probably catch in the odd one. Don't worry about it. I'm going to give that 2 turns to lock it in. I'm going to catch everything now and sweep it back, so try and get all the fibres I can back, and just building up a couple of turns of thread just to help keep the fibres sloping back. Trim that off. Trim this off. Sit my tail up. A little bit of that sticking out on this side. Okay, at this point in time, if you want, you can tease out that red dubbing a little bit. I don't like to go too mad with the Velcro either because I don't want to damage the rib. So you can tease it out a little bit. Next is the legs. So I'm using a dyed red cock pheasant centre tail. This one we dyed ourselves, and myself and my buddy Chris, and I've just knotted a few, to say if you been bored waiting for me to knot them on camera, so I've already knotted them. I like to tie the legs in on the side of the fly. So everybody seems to be different or have their own way of doing it these days. That's just the way I tie them in. One there that doesn't want to behave, so I'm just going to match it up with another one. These two are getting along a bit better. So I want the tips of these really to be just at the end of the tail, just beyond the tip of the tail. So rotate the vise on its side, a couple of turns, make sure I'm happy, and then a couple more to secure, and trim that off. And I'm going to rotate it, do the same on the other side. It's going to come back there. Get two more. Okay. You can buy pre-knotted. I don't mind knotting my own. And again, just to the tip of the tail. Place them on the side of the hook shank. Two turns, not mad tight, just to put them where you want, and then just a couple of turns to keep them in place, and snip off, and it starts to look like that. Okay, so you can tie the legs in on top or underneath. So I tie them in on the side, and then the front hackle is going to be a very soft cock hackle dyed red. Just try and get one that's not too big. A little bit longer. I think that one. Okay. Just tidy up a few bits here. See one strand, I think it's sticking forward. Okay, that's looking a bit better. Get your red hackle, remove the fluff. And then catch it in, fluff on my finger. A couple of turns there. A couple in front. Now we're just going to, we'll get a good bit of space here, so we'll surely get 4 or 5 turns anyway. So 2, 3. You're going to be pulling this fly through a wave, so having it nice and bushy at the front isn't any bad thing. Keep your fibres pulled back. I'm going to get maybe one more turn on the front of this, and then it doesn't seem to want to go around, so just catch it right again. 2 turns. Again, we're just going to catch everything, pull it back. You can wet your thumb and forefinger here. Just helps to trap all the fibres. Okay, starting to look okay again. So again, look at different ways of doing things. You know, some people like to velcro back all these materials, just brushing them back with velcro. Others like to stroke them back. Some people, you just wet your fingers, push them back, get them sitting the way you want. And then the last thing is I'm going to add jungle cock, eyes if you like. So I have a split jungle cock feather here that I prepared, and hopefully it'll stay in one piece. It's off an old split cape. A little bit of wax when you're putting this on, because it's a fairly shiny material. One fibre sticking out there that I don't want. Okay. So I'm going to try and catch this in on the black stripe, especially when I'm using this black thread. Just give it a couple of turns. Just have a look to see how it's looking. Okay, it's not looking right. Okay, so it looks like it's starting to split, which is a common enough thing that happens with these old ones. So it should work better this time. Enough. Okay. Couple of turns. I say take your time, try and get it right. Now this jungle cock's quite shiny, so that wax is really important here. I'm going to pull that back up. I'm just going to get a couple of turns in front. I'm just going to trim it, because it's going to be the white part on top. Let's trim this as close as I can, because if it's too much you're going to have white bits sticking back along here. It's going to be difficult to cover those with your thread, and then you're going to be saying, why is that head of your fly got white in it? So that's not looking too bad. Okay. So just build up your head on your fly, what you want yourself. And then I'm just going to add a wood finish just to lock it off. I'm going to, so you don't normally see me using one of these, but I'm going to give it a go today. And hey presto, managed to do it with the tool, which I haven't used in I don't know how long, a lot of years anyway. So there's your fly. You can trim it off. I don't know, it's just a habit I have. I like to apply a drop of lacquer always before trimming off. Again, just means nothing can unravel or open, or no curly little bits of thread. Just trim it off. Another touch of lacquer again. We're using the Tommy fly. Sorry, not Tommy fly, it's the Moiba head lacquer. I like that stuff a lot. So yeah, there you have it. It's a Solwick variant.